funny that you bring that up, because we've been building this for much longer than that season came about, but when I saw that episode I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It's pretty much exactly what they're building.
Yeah, that's funny. Hey Sam,
Hey.
I think they can connect with the cable because
Perfect.
the password to the Wi-Fi has changed for
Yeah,
AirPlay.
it has, but we can give that to you if you want it.
Okay. Yeah,
It's,
I would love it.
It's center of gravity, all lowercase all one word.
Center of gravity. Okay. You guys had like Keep Boston hacking for like
Forever.
10 years.
I know. I've also got you guys live streaming too, so.
Okay, awesome. Hello everyone. You don't know the password I just said.
Have a great night, guys.
Thanks, Sam. We're live streaming on YouTube. So, hello if anyone's watching us. I don't know if anyone ever does watch us. Occasionally I'll go back like if I talk because I'm like, how do I sound as a public speaker? I don't talk loud enough. So we're just introducing ourselves and saying like how we got into coding or what we do.
I'm Camila. I was a math major in college and I was a high school math teacher for the past 3 years. I just do private tutoring now. I first got interested in coding maybe 2 years ago, and I started learning JavaScript on my own, just doing Code Academy classes. But I decided to study Java more seriously, so I've been taking a bunch of online classes on Coursera.com over the past several months, and I hope to find a job as a developer sometime in the future.
Awesome. Well, good for you. Java, it can be difficult. So good job.
The syntax is
Hey guys, I'm Abby. I work at a company called The Guild. We're a small startup that's it's a new concept in hospitality, and it's easiest to think about if you combine Airbnb and hotels. So we rent out luxury apartment units throughout the city and then tack on a virtual front desk to that. So you have like all the experience of an Airbnb, but with the help and amenities of a hotel.
It's like a concierge, like on-demand services.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I work mostly in Squarespace with them. I'm their creative director, but we are going to be needing some heftier stuff, maybe an app eventually, so I'm trying to dip my toe in to coding.
Well, if you need anyone to do prototypes,
Okay.
my company does prototypes as well.
Perfect.
Let's jump to the back and just introduce yourself, how you got into coding, or if you're new to coding, what interests you in coding.
You got it. Sure thing. So I'm Alexa. I really just moved to Austin maybe a month ago. I actually just got my first job as a developer. Largely self-taught. I did major in engineering, but it was mechanical engineering. And first thing I tried to do was build an Arduino, because build with an Arduino. I had the idea to automate my home and all sorts of stuff. Turns out I love programming and I love electronics. It's completely separately though. So.
Good you found out.
I did, so I found it. So that was maybe 5 years ago. I actually started with a Python course on Coursera, and it's just hit the road from there. I'm actually usually I really prefer to write in Ruby because it's just simple. It's pleasing to the fingers. Just write it much quicker. But right now the position I have is mostly in JavaScript and PHP, which whatever, I can do it. So yeah, really just new to Austin. I did live in Denton, Texas, where I was part of the Women Who Code chapter. They're part of the Dallas chapter in general, but I was the community coding organizer in Denton, Texas. So I really just set up study groups and things like that. So I'm just happy to be down in Austin. I think this is my second Women Who Code meetup. The last one was the Ruby meetup. So yeah, so just dip my toe into the Austin scene here to see what the tech scene offers. There actually is a Ruby or Austin RB meeting right downstairs.
Yes.
Are they always the same day?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
no, really?
And in fact, one of our organizers runs that, but she
No.
ran it before she helped us with Women Who Code. So, but if you go there, Nola
Yeah.
is my friend, and she's also one of our organizers. She does, what does Nola do? She does Clojure meetup.
Oh.
So if you want to learn Clojure, it's like functional programming, but Ruby people like it. Let's jump to the back over here.
My name's Abby. I used to be a reference librarian, and then a big part of my job as a reference librarian was making cold fusion applications, and so I got a job as a developer for the city a few months ago.
Congratulations.
And, thanks. And I'm doing a lot of stuff in Visual Basic, which
Cool.
I really actually love. It's like a Microsoft coding, or I don't know, I'm out of it right now.
Visual Studio?
Yeah, I don't even use Visual Studio, I just use the editor right in.
Oh, really?
We do a lot of Access apps. And I think when I first heard that I'd be using Visual Basic, I was kind of nervous because I was thinking, well, that's kind of like an old language and like relatively speaking, and it's not really gonna give me any skills, but I feel like it's actually really opened my eyes to a lot of different things, and I feel like it's a really good experience.
It's been around, what, 30 years?
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I learned it in college, not because they taught it, because I worked for the college and I had to do some websites that hooked up to Access.
Yeah.
So I had to use Visual Basic. So
Yeah.
I like to joke and say, like, I'm a programmer of 4 years plus like 3,
Visual
but with
Basic.
like a gap of 10 in between.
I know, yeah. So yeah, so we do a lot of Access apps, but we also do a lot of like integrating document management systems with other document management systems that need to talk to each other and that sort of thing. So I work in government, and yep. And I just spent like half an hour driving around looking for parking.
Anyone who wants to pay $5, if you park downstairs, they do validate for $5. So when it's rainy, that's usually what I do, because I'm like, I will pay the $5 not to get rained on.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, so if you did park downstairs, I have the parking vouchers if you need one. Yeah, so I think we'll get started with the talks now. Let me look up who we have speaking. For those of you who just entered, it's Women Who Code Lightning Talks. If you aren't supposed to be here, there's other things downstairs. So maybe check those out. But we're gonna have lightning talks tonight, and there's still some wine and beer and food back there. It's a casual setting, so if you need to get up and get some food and some drinks, feel free. And then restrooms, if you walk out the door and then turn left on the hall and a right, the restroom is right there. And if you need Wi-Fi access, I also have the access cards here. So we'll go for about 30 minutes, and then we'll take like a short break, and then we'll hear the rest of the talks, if all the speakers are here. I'm here. You're here. How are you doing? Good. Selena, right? Anyone need a Wi-Fi? So first on the list is Alyssa Noland. Is Alyssa here? Speaking on pre-rendering with Ruby configuring? No. Selena. I'll bump you down the list. Chelsea.
Yes.
Chelsea.
Okay.
There's only one Chelsea.
Alright. Guess I'll do that.
I can go first if you don't want to.
Yeah, go for it, please.
Tara. Who's not Abby? So Tara is going to be talking on how Merkle trees enable the decentralized web. I like data structure, so I'm excited.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Hi everyone, my name is Tara, and I'm going to talk to you about Merkle trees and explain how they enable the decentralized web. So before we jump in, I want to explain two centralizing forces that affect how the web works today. The first is what we'll call the server problem. So if you want to publish files on the web, you need to have a server, but most people don't have servers lying around. They're also expensive and burdensome to run, so most people choose the more convenient option, which is to publish files with a hosting service. I can totally sympathize with that. It's great. But what it leads to, unfortunately, is that a lot of content on the web ends up being concentrated on the infrastructure of a few hosting providers. The second centralizing force on the web relates to how we address content on the web. We currently use what's called a host-based model, and so what this means is if I upload a video to YouTube, the URL for my video is tightly bound to the youtube.com origin. And if I ever want to move my video from YouTube to Vimeo, I have to get an entirely new URL. So there's a lot of friction involved in exercising choice between providers, and most likely, once I've made my original choice, I'm probably going to stick with it because I don't want to go through the hassle of distributing a new URL. Luckily, both of these centralizing forces can be solved with a peer-to-peer network. And the first part of the solution I want to talk about is called content addressing. Content addressing is basically what it sounds like. It's generating an address for a piece of content based on its value, and we can do this with hash functions. A hash function is a one-way function that takes an input, like a file in this example, and generates a fixed length output. Now, what's really important to know about a well-designed hash function is that it guarantees with extremely, extremely high probability that no two inputs will ever generate the same output. So what that means is that the output of a hash function is a unique identifier for a piece of content. And if it can act as a unique identifier for a piece of content, that means we can use it as an address or a way to find that piece of content. So now if we apply this approach to the YouTube example again, if I decide to move from YouTube to Vimeo now, my video can maintain the same address no matter whose infrastructure it's hosted on. But we still haven't talked about how to reduce the burden of actually hosting content on the web. And we can also do this with a peer-to-peer network. So let's say that we have a bunch of files or data. What we can do is actually split it into chunks and distribute it across a network of peers. And then those peers can share the responsibility of contributing bandwidth and disk space, which is expensive. But there's something else that's really important to consider, and that's trust. So you wouldn't want to just download files from anyone on the network because participants in a peer-to-peer network are random people on the internet that are untrusted. So we have to find a way to do some sort of verification that the files that they send us are the files that we actually asked for. And this is where Merkle trees come in. So what is a Merkle tree? It's a binary tree. But instead of the nodes storing actual data values, they store hashes, output of a hash function. So the leaf nodes that are shown in green are hashes of the actual data that we care about. And the parent nodes are a little bit different. They're the ones in blue. They're the result of putting the left and right child together, concatenating them, and then applying the hash function to that result. So let's actually step through constructing one of these because I think it's a little bit easier to understand once you see it. So we have these 4 chunks of data, the numbers 1 through 4. And we apply the hash function to each one individually to get our 4 leaf nodes. And then we move on to determining the parent nodes. So for A, we'll concatenate the hash of 1 and the hash of 2, and then apply the hash function to that result. And for B, we'll do the same exact thing with its children. And finally, we do the same thing for the root node, concatenate A and B, and apply the hash function. The root node in a Merkle tree has a special name. We call it the root hash. And as we'll see in a few moments, that actually plays a pretty important role when we start putting Merkle trees to use in peer-to-peer systems. So let's look at an example. Let's compare 2 Merkle trees to see if they're equal. Now remember that a Merkle tree is actually just a representation of a data set, so in effect what we're doing is comparing 2 data sets to see if they're equal. So right away you can see that the 2 root hashes are different. We have C and we have F, and you might be able to see why. It's because you'll notice the tree on the right has a different leaf node. It's the hash of 5 instead of the hash of 4. And because that leaf node is different, its parent is different as a result, and consequently the root node is different. So a change in any single leaf node bubbles up all the way to the top. So what that means, if we're comparing 2 Merkle trees to see if they're equal, the only thing we need to compare is the root hash. And this is awesome because not only does it reduce the number of calculations and comparisons we need to do to determine equality, But it also means that if we're doing this comparison over a network, the only thing that you have to send over the network is the root hash, which is typically going to be 32 bytes. And that's like super cheap and awesome. So how does this come into play when we actually start talking about peer-to-peer networks? Well, we have to find a way on a peer-to-peer network to find files that we care about. And the way that we actually do this is with the root hash. So the root hash acts sort of as a representation for a whole data set, for the whole tree. And it's an address much like www.google.com is an address. Google.com simply points to a server somewhere and that houses some files. And if you have that address, you can download those files. That's literally what an address is. And a root hash is very similar. And just like on the regular web, we have to take some precautions when downloading files. We wouldn't want to just download it from a stranger. So what this means is that we have to get a root hash from someone that we trust, because otherwise it could just point to viruses. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get the root hash C from a friend, and we're going to start asking people on the network to send us the files, the chunks of data that are associated with that hash. And we have them here. They're the numbers 1 through 4. So again, we need to verify that data because people on the network could have just sent us anything random. So how could we do that? Well, what if we just reconstructed the whole Merkle tree to see what we get for the root hash? Let's do that. Sorry, my animations aren't working here. All right, so we'll apply the hash function to each chunk of data like we did before, calculate the parent nodes, and finally calculate the root hash. And we see, in fact that it is the same root hash. So at this point we know with 100% certainty that the data we received from the network was not accidentally corrupted or intentionally tampered with. Because if it were, then we would not have gotten this exact tree. We would have gotten a different result for the root hash. So you might wonder if the role of the root hash is to, first of all, serve as an address for the content, and second of all, to help us verify the content, couldn't we just take all the chunks of data, concatenate them, and then apply the hash function to that? And the answer is yes, that would work. We would still get the same properties as before, but it turns out there is some value in constructing a tree. And we're going to see why in a second. So in the last example, we needed to download all of the data first before we were able to verify it. But what if you only cared about one piece of data in a set? Or maybe you got half of it and no one else on the network is available to send you the files you need. It would be really cool if we could actually verify individual chunks of data as we receive them. And that's why we need to construct a tree. So let's look at a similar example. Again, we're going to get a root hash from someone that we trust and start asking peers on the network to send us files. And once we get our first chunk of data, we need to verify it. So let's ask ourselves, what data do we need in order to verify this data, or in other words, to reconstruct this Merkle tree? Turns out it's not very much at all. We have the number 4, so we can calculate the hash of 4 on our own. We'll need someone to send us the hash of 3 so that we can calculate B. And finally, we'll need someone to send us A so that we can determine the root hash. And again, we can see that we got the root hash C, so we know with 100% certainty that the number 4 does indeed belong in this data set. What's really important to notice is that the only thing that we needed to get from someone we trust was the root hash. The data itself and all of the proof required to verify the data can come from random people on the internet. You don't have to trust them at all. And this is a critical piece of being able to distribute files across a network, because if any of the proof had to come from a trusted peer, then we wouldn't be getting the same benefits, and we'd end up with the same problem we had before, which is a lot of content lives on a few infrastructure providers. So dozens of projects use Merkle trees, and they actually have some other really cool properties that I won't have time to talk about. But they're of critical importance for all peer-to-peer and decentralized systems. Being able to address content with a root hash gives us consistent links that are the same no matter where content is hosted, and being able to efficiently verify data across the network makes it possible to distribute the responsibility of bandwidth and disk space. So in summary, Merkle trees enable a web built on the small contributions of many rather than the concentrated resources of a few. Thanks.
So when you guys were working on your application, the peer-to-peer browser, how did you discover Merkle trees? Like, were you looking at different data structures? Like, how? I've never heard of it before. I mean, I've heard of binary trees and AV trees and stuff. So where did you learn about Merkle trees?
Well, I've kind of been a decentralized web enthusiast for a while. Actually, pretty soon after I got into programming, I learned about what it means to say something is decentralized and why we might want our networks to be decentralized. And I just heard it come up again and again. And like when I would read in documentation, when I say it's the backbone of the decentralized web, I mean that. It's used in every single peer-to-peer system. It's used in pretty much every cryptocurrency, which are technically decentralized. So yeah, just by reading documentation of projects I was interested in.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I actually have a lot of questions, but
Oh yeah.
so
do we have time for that, or should we wait till after? Okay.
so you say like the root hash is 32 bits, but
32
your
bytes.
32 bytes, but your
Yes.
tree can be really really deep,
Mhm.
right? So, but you said that the root hash is the combination of all the hashes. So
Yeah.
say if you have, if you have a if you have a 5-tier tree that, so at the root node, each one is one byte, the hash?
Each hash is typically 32 bytes. It depends on which hash function you're using, but most of the time it is 32 bytes. A hash function produces a fixed length output.
Right.
So even no matter how deep it goes, you concatenate, your two nodes and then
Right.
apply the hash function.
Oh,
It's
okay.
still
Right.
going to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
the 32 bytes. Yeah. Do you have more questions? Does anyone else?
I think I have to think about how that actually works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say decentralized, like did you watch Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, because they were talking about if you compress it enough, you can actually distribute it with people's phones and stuff.
Mhm.
So, but you're not talking about people's phone. You're just talking about you still have servers. It's just decentralized servers and stuff.
Yeah, but my laptop can act as a server, and in fact it does. Like I host my website off of my laptop, and I actually have another server that I pay for that kind of acts in the background and checks if I'm online, and if I'm not, it will sort of jump in and host it for me so that my website's always available. But yeah, it's a very similar idea that there's all this untapped resources on our phones, on our computers, and we depend so deeply on services like Google Cloud and Amazon AWS. So why don't we try to pull back from that a little bit and take control of some of our data and I guess, just learn how to be a little bit more independent. It's totally doable with the technology we have today. So that's what the Beaker browser is founded on and my work is founded on.
Okay. So is there a project that you're working on that's
Yeah.
like use all these or like what is it? Like,
Yeah,
talk about
it's
it.
called Beaker and it's a browser, a web browser. You can browse the regular web, but you can also browse websites and files that are hosted with this peer-to-peer protocol that we use called DAT, D-A-T. And we've also got some other neat features in it, which allows you to make websites in the browser and host them from your browser, and also to fork other people's websites. So if you see a peer-to-peer website you like, you can literally just fork it, copy the files, and start making changes to it. Happy to talk about it
One
more.
more question over here.
Oh yeah.
What hashing function are you using?
We use SHA-256.
Did the SHA-1 collision impact your protocol at all?
No.
You're always using the 256 one.
Yeah, the SHA-1 collision was a really big deal, but the funny thing is that security researchers had been warning people about it for years and saying, like, it's a very high chance that we're going to have a collision soon. So well-designed protocols were not using it because they knew that likely it would become irrelevant sooner or later. Yeah.
Thank you, Tara.
Yep.
Up next is, do you want to go now, Chelsea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Up next is Chelsea.
Okay, so my mind is completely blown. I am not a developer or coder or anything. My background is in interior architecture and business strategy more recently with user research and design thinking. So if I don't have the right terminology, because I have no idea what any of this is. So I want to present to you something I did in my thesis when I was in school for design management. And this stems from 3 months of research and prototyping and getting feedback from users. And this is a world that I don't really know, but from the research, one of my offerings for my thesis was a software concept idea. So I want to talk to you today to get your feedback, and I did all of the, I guess you want to say, front end, but I have no idea what the back end what that is. So I'm just gonna kind of go through slides, and if you could kind of give me some feedback on like what is possible, what are the limitations to it, anything like that. So feel free to kind of like blurt out at me. I have probably maybe 10 slides I'll show you, so I'll just kind of walk you through. Okay, so the concept behind Calibrate was, this is for design firms who kind of deal with a lot of creativity, technology, and project management, and this is a software concept that would be geared towards these firms, and this is the homepage. I'm just going to skip through it, but it focuses on project management, team building, and personal identity. So this is what a login welcome page would consist of. On the left, you have things like your teams, your profile, different contacts, messaging, calendar, whatever. And this is all of the recent activity. This here is just a project snapshot of how far along you are in that project. And these are the different projects that a person would have and the progress, I guess, of that. So when you go into your firm's page, you have different files that the firm could upload, some things like their standards, different codes and templates in different forms. And I'll go to the next one. And this is just a screen or a page of the different teams that you're on. And you can see all the different people who are on it. So let me start over. This software is a kind of a guided collaborative software. And there's like 7 steps to starting and completing a project. And these are them at the very right, from purpose all the way to reflection. Yeah, and this just kind of guides you through. You can upload photos, do different activities. I'll just kind of skip through these. So you guys are probably familiar with Slack. This is kind of the same concept with having different channels, liking and commenting on people's different activities. And that's play. I'll skip through that. And then kind of ending a project with reflecting as a team. And I'll skip through that. Okay, so when you start the software, every person takes a personality assessment, and it'll put that on your profile here. And if I'm someone looking at Dan, there's a button that would match me to his personality type. So it would show me how to best communicate with that person. And then you also can choose like the different values that you like, as in clear communication, effectiveness, and things that pertain to like culture, communication, and collaboration. And then for skills, adding different programs that you think you're good at and your teammate can advocate for you. So my biggest thing is I'm trying to understand what it would take if this is like too complex of an idea, and what all to make it to make it happen. Would it be, can it happen basically? I don't know the terminology, but
There's no technology in there that's not possible. My question is, you said this was your thesis project, so you spent 3 months doing research and getting feedback. What kind of companies were you interviewing?
So I did mostly architecture, interior design firms. I worked with IBM and Steelcase. And so I had 2 different versions of this, and I tweaked it, agile, tweaked it each time to what they would need and parts and different pieces. I just don't understand the back, like what's happening in the back, and if it can basically, if it has the capability to work.
I think the most interesting part you talked about was the personality profile and like how you would match the users to each other, the teammates.
Okay.
What sparked that interest? Like when you were getting feedback from these companies, how did they come up with that, or did you come up with that?
No, it's all from research. So the 3 lenses that I looked at was communication, collaboration, and culture. And so all of my research questions stemmed from that. And so a lot of answers I would get would be in a design firm. For firms that are not as collaborative and people who wanted to be highly collaborative, they didn't understand, they wanted to get past that barrier with different people to get them to that ideal collaborative stage. But I think it has to do a lot with different roles. People have different roles, and like the executives, or the barrier between just like a level 1 through 3 designer compared to like an executive, and not getting past like a personality barrier with the top people. That was probably the biggest thing that had to do with personality, and just wanting to know who you work with too. I feel like people act differently at work compared to just how they are casually. So that's kind of where that stemmed from.
So I think there's 3 different categories that this breaks down into. You have the file storage, where you can upload files. You have the personality test, which I assume would use some kind of matching algorithm or something. And then you also have the project cycle. So those are like the 3 categories I would see that would use different technology. They're all possible. It kind of looks like you would have like something like SharePoint, where they can upload files, something kind of like Asana, which is a project management system. Then you also said there was the messaging, which is like Slack. The only piece that I've never seen before is like the personality matching, which I'm sure there are things out there like that. You know, we all know about dating and those kind of matching algorithms. So none of it is impossible. I think definitely you need to know your market. Like, it has a warm, friendly feel, so I could see how it would be marketed to like design firms, like you were saying, or architect firms, places that aren't super technical. Like I wouldn't see,
a software agency like mine using it, we already have the tools because we're technologists.
Yeah.
We already know what the tools are. You know, we use Jira, we use Command View, we use Slack and all of those. But for some of these non-technologists, you know, like design firms, something like this that was easy, has, you know, the big graphics, I think could be nice for them. They probably prefer to have everything in one place than to use different
That
apps.
was another thing that came out of research is a lot of companies, they'll use all these different mediums and they would rather it just be kind of just one stop for everything throughout a project.
And I think that's the difference between technologists and creatives, because the technologists are like, well, I want to use the best app, so I want to use Slack and I want to use GitHub, and don't make me use one thing that's stupid, you know, and it's clunky when it's trying to, you know, shoehorn everything into it.
Okay.
Whereas, you know, places like this, I worked for a lawyer at my first job out of code school, and she wanted everything on Microsoft. You know, she wanted to use SharePoint, she wanted to use Outlook, she wanted everything there, and I was just like, we can't put everything there. Like, it doesn't all fit in there.
Okay.
And you can force it, but it's not going to be fun, you know. And so I made her go to Google Apps, but I would say you might have some more research, because it seems like there's a lot of things going on there. Like, is it a file storage? Is it a project management? Is it a messaging service? Is it a matching service? And maybe just start out with one of those.
Okay.
We like to say MVP, the minimal viable product, so maybe focus on one of those things.
Okay.
I think the matching thing is very interesting. Like I
Okay.
said, I haven't seen something like that, so that could be a niche. I mean, file services, you know, those are out there. Slack is free, you know, for a certain level.
Do you see this being easier as a cloud-based thing or something that is in a firm's server? Like it has to be kind of on site? I don't really know the term.
If you're talking about like smaller design firms, because honestly, like IBM probably has all these tools internally. So if you're looking at small firms that don't have their own IT department, they don't have an internal development shop, they want something they can use online, I would say it's in the cloud and it would be a subscription service. Like this is $50 a month or $49.99.
Okay.
I guess I have to point out, I'm a part of a design group, and I'm pretty sure we're kind of the market that Holly is thinking that we would be interested. And again, I think going back to Holly's idea of MVP and think about the minimum viable product, because as she's saying, they're technologists, design groups are becoming technologists too, especially as millennials get older. So they're, like, we already have tools that do everything in there except the personality thing, which you would want to think long and hard about telling creatives about how to conform to personality expectations. At least the creatives I've worked with, I'm not sure if the personality test would fly easily, but again, I'm in this weird, like, we're all freelancers that work together as a design group, and we all have our own tools already there. But I think research the market is kind of my gut on it. Like, research and make sure that there's a good market for this.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, my team actually did the personality test last week. So everybody, like the team is like a team building events, and then there's like, we did this with like there's 4 colors of energy, and it was actually really accurate. Like, especially like we were all engineers, so it turned out everybody's the same color.
Oh, yeah.
It was like everybody is like calm and detail oriented and all that. But the project management group, like they would have all kinds of colors, but like engineers all these colors. But yeah, it was really accurate, and I think it does help. We know each other how to. It does say like, oh, if this person is this type of color, how do you approach them, and things like that. I think it's helpful.
It's even used sometimes in hiring, because I worked at a place where they use the 5 strengths, and so my manager made everyone take them. I was his assistant, I was an executive assistant. It was a nonprofit for people with disabilities. This was before I was a coder, and so we had everyone on our team take it, and then we saw like what strengths were missing, and so that's what we tried to hire for, you know, to miss it. And I was the only balanced person. I was in every area.
Do you think this would be a good HR tool?
I think so, like HR, the personality, that's what I kind of saw at like a company directory almost, but it
Yeah,
also like lists
exactly, yeah.
their personality, and so if you were trying to put together a team of creatives, you'd be like, okay, I need someone who's a good communicator, I need someone who's analytical and this, and so it'd be interesting if you'd map their skills. We've tried to do that even in our company, like by code languages, like who knows this language, who knows this technology, so we'd be like, we need this for this project.
Okay. Thank you guys.
I thought that was a good part of your presentation too, like having the coding, but being vouched by other team members. Because I think a lot of times, especially management, they may not be aware that, you know, Bob is silent and he's bad with interfacing with everyone. But he's really good at a specific skill set that the other developers on the team really value him for. But he's not an advocate for himself. And so having that, you know, as a manager, being able to see a list of, okay, 4 or 5 people are vouching that
Exactly.
he's really great at this technology skill set, that increases his value. I don't know if it's best for the whole team to see the evaluations of each other. I'm not sure how well that would work. But
I think
a management view that would give you that, and maybe even some of the deeper personality details being out, like maybe a high level, you know, single color for a person maybe, but maybe the deeper personality tests may need to just be at a separate view level, because I can also see that causing some issues or anxiety for certain people.
I think self-awareness came up a lot with my research. Designers have huge egos, especially architects, and if you think you're really good at something, but the consensus is that it's not really seen that way, I think it helps to kind of break down that ego and kind of learn from your peers, and make it like kind of a whole, like everyone's on one level, we're learning from each other, and kind of be more vulnerable and transparent about what you can do and what you can't do. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thesis with us. So next on this is Rebecca. Do you need help getting connected, or you have a presentation? We have HTML, and you don't have that, and then you also have on Mac. I think Sam left. There's a way to, let's try getting on their Wi-Fi. See if it's there. How to go to your displays. Our settings. may not be able to connect because I think they use Apple TV. No, it's not the right size. This is for Mac. I don't think they have a Windows in here.
Where, is it online or is it on your drive?
It's online,
It's online, your presentation?
yeah. Well, I mean, the website is online, excuse me.
Do you want to use my computer then? Is it online or is it on your?
Well, it's
your
not
use-
live, no. I'm trying to think how
Is it on your thumb drive?
I did that.
Could you put it on your thumb drive? Or is it on your computer? Is it code? You want to show code?
Yeah, well, I wanted to show, I'm trying to think, I did want to show the website at some point.
But it's not online yet.
Could save it to that, well, maybe we should come back to me. I can think about
Yeah, guys,
how I
I
wanna do
don't
this.
see anything that would fit your computer. They have Windows cables. They only have the HDMI cables.
But if I put it on a thumb drive, then we should
Yeah,
go
you put it
ahead.
on a thumb drive.
Yeah, well, I do have a thumb drive,
Like,
so.
right. Okay.
Alright, well, come back to me.
Alright, Selena. You're a Mac. Okay. That's terrible. We only like one product here.
Before I start, to make sure it's running.
It's connected.
There's internet. It's weird. I wanted to show it live, but I guess for some reason it should be working. It's well, I was going to show you the live version of what I was doing, but I can't get to the internet, so
Do you need help getting online?
yeah, it's for some reason I don't think I'm online at all. I already have these sites loaded, but to run this it needs to be online. That's the problem. It's not on the internet.
Did change their password.
Oh, that's another thing. I didn't have the password, so I'm probably not even on the internet.
It's supposed to be. Unless that was another thing they said. Sweet. That won't work. I also have cards. I can get you on the card. Can't be a technical meetup without technical difficulties.
It's good to have that, have a backup. Getting onto the internet can be tricky.
And we take it for granted.
first thing I do when I travel international is go get a hotspot, because I'm like, I have to have internet.
Oh, I
Can't live without it. Carry it around and connect my phone to it, because it's cheaper. It's cheaper to get like a monthly hotspot than to use your phone's like international roaming, and I don't bother with getting a SIM card. So I think you should be online now. You can try refreshing that page.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to start. It may not even be working, but I'll just go ahead with the presentation anyway. And then when I get to that point, if it's working, it's working. But I'll go ahead with the presentation anyway. So, hi everyone, my name is Selena, and I did a presentation previously about data science. And so what I decided to do is I went to a hackathon. Well, actually it was a cognitive fair development partial hackathon, where you could use IBM's tools and Foursquare's tools to be able to develop a different applications using Node.js or Python, and just create something collaboratively with their how can I say it, their platform and their cloud tools. So anyway, so I am using IBM Bluemix as their platform, and if I can get it to work and show you, it would kind of be really a good example. But anyway, so what I first did in this, and by the way, some parts of it aren't working, that's why I wanted to present to this, because it's helping me try to see if I can solve one of the problems I'm having. The first step in this is what I've done is you set up the cloud environment, you have a IBM Bluemix account, and it's called the Watson Developer Cloud. Make sure you have Node.js and Python installed and configured. Then what I've done is I've basically had, once I've installed everything, I have a tree similar to this, where you can either code this in Python or Node.js, either way or both. And so I think in this example, this little small example, I've used both. The first step to do is configure your workspace, and I'm going to try to show you. You have to have a workspace. It's kind of like a palette where you have, let's see how I can explain it. Let's see if I can pull it up here. This is what the workspace looks like. It may not run, but you have a workspace like this, and where you have basically your intents, entities, and the dialog box, and I'll explain how this works in a minute. But your workspace is set up like this, and once you've configured a workspace and created your intents and entities, then it kind of completes the whole workflow. But initially, when you complete it, you'll have a JSON file, or you can even use a JSON file that you've coded already to import into your workspace, or you can import that file from the workspace. And the part that I haven't done that I'm having problems with is the Node.js sample that connects to the service and sends a single message and logs the output to the console. So when you're logging in and you're seeing this on your computer or your laptop, when you're trying to do this, that's the part that I haven't completed yet. But I'm just trying to explain how this will work. So the first thing is you determine the intents are the categories in your conversation flow. And this determines the flows that you need to create. So the intents are kind of like keywords that you might want to determine for, this is Watson, try to determine how Watson could pick these words up and understand them in training to train the algorithm to understand. So, for example, just simple keywords like I have, for sick, or this is supposed to be a health bot, so sick, ear, foot, just simple things, simple words to kind of like give Watson an idea how to train or to understand what the conversation or the dialogue would be.
Then you will create the entities, and there's two, the entities you create and also the entities that are the system entities, such as like the location you can pick, or date or time. So I've picked, you know, let's say a specialty doctor, either could be a podiatrist, a dentist, or an ophthalmologist, the nose, throat doctor. And so those are the ones, and you could pick, you could set this up to have a lot more, but I just only picked 23. So when you have that done, then you have your dialogue, which looks like this. And this may not work, I'm gonna try it. But let's just see, because I'm still working on this. So you have the welcome, where you have the conversation trigger, and I say, hello, my name is Selena, how can I help you? And so I'm gonna say, hello, I am not feeling well. And so it comes up with, you know, it should say, whoops, let's see. It should understand, like, let's say it doesn't understand that, so you could put there that the associated trigger word, or the condition is sick. So what Watson is doing, this is kind of good because this is not working, it's going to train on that word to try to understand it better as it goes through the iteration. So I'm going to wait for a few minutes because I'm going to try it again. And every time you do this, it gets better and better at it. So while it's doing this, if there's a symptom, like let's say I put, let's see here, if you had put, so let's say if I had put well, let's try this again, I'm going to try another example. So let's say I had said, feeling well, and then it should have been, for some reason it's not working now, I don't know why, but earlier, it should say, come back and say, what it would probably come back and say is, sorry to hear that. It should come back and say, sorry to hear that. We have specialists in the area that can help diagnose your infection. If you had put, let's say, I have an earache, like let's say I said, I have an, so that's what it would do. It says, sorry to hear that. We have ear specialists that can help you diagnose your infection. So depending on which you are putting in there, it should come back, depending on the keywords, and come back to add to the conversation as you're going through it. So that's kind of a short example, and there's one, most of this, the other second part is not working because when I put in foot or, you know, parts of fever, it's not working. So I think what I put in, for example, the part that's not working is I have, oh, actually it's working. Let's see, is this accompanied by symptoms of the flu? So it basically goes through through the whole, you know, conditions and determines what to ask. So anyway, that's the example that I was trying to show from here, and then here's another example from with the intents and that I just showed you live. So I put this on here just in case that this wasn't working. Now the part that isn't working that I haven't yet done is once you've completed this dialogue and you have your dialogue complete, the next step is to code an application where you can have it connect with your conversation through API calls and integrating your application with a chatbot or a third-party system, like in social media or Slack or one of the other chat services. So anyway, that's what I'm working on. I'm still trying to work out all the bugs, but I just wanted to present this so I can try to improve and talk my way through it. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. So
Yeah.
you started and you said you had the code, but then you also used the Watson interface for putting up those conversation flows, like you were showing those blocks.
Yes.
So where does the code go?
So the code, oh, I see. Okay, so I have the code in Atom, and what I did is I had basically imported, initially when you're configuring it, I missed a step, when you're configuring it, you have to set up all of this, and you have to actually set up the environment and go through and import these files. And one of the things that's important, for example, is having the workspace this changes. This is the workspace that changes with, once you have your dialogue, but the most important is having the passwords that you're given from IBM Bluemix to have the conversation and password and workspace information. So you've got a hard code and update this information. But the code, I have it all in Atom. That's where I've had everything.
So
And-
the conversation flow, that interface is all of this code?
Yes.
I see, so the conversation flow is something you built that then a user could go on and use and set up their own responses to different
Exactly.
words. I see, I thought it was like an interface that Watson had that you logged in and it was like, oh, I wanna track this word and I wanna respond to this, but you actually coded that stuff.
So there is one part that, well, yeah, there's two parts of coding, but I didn't code the Node.js part, because that part they provide, when you're downloading, there's a blueprint that Watson uses. They have, it's in Node.js. But the Python, that part, since I know Python, I can actually, you have to code that part as well as the second part, which is the interface, the development interface that you're going to use for when you're logging into your terminal and just typing in and say run.
So you have the API keys to work with Watson.
Yes.
So you can send the user inputs, but that interface is all stuff you guys made, the front end part.
Exactly, because when I started, there was none of this was here. You have to start, and this was really tricky initially. It was really difficult because, and I'm still trying to figure out how this works, because when we were in the boot camp or the hackathon, a lot of it wasn't working. We're just told, here's an entity, try this and see how it works. And everybody was trying it out and a lot of it wasn't working. So I decided to go and try to play with it and try different examples and build on, with the various different, keywords and different other examples that Watson could build on in this. And this is just a test. This side window is just a test. But once you have your application deployed, you would be on you'd be logging in or just from your terminal, and you could be able to see how it's running from, as though Watson were talking to you. Or through our third-party channel like Slack or another chatbot. So, yeah, it's really interesting, but it's a different way of combining, object-oriented programming and also, the back-end programming and configuration. And so it's been challenging. It's been a lot of time on this, but it's kind of interesting. So anyway, that's about it. That's all I have.
Can you explain a little bit what the Python code is doing?
So, the Python code, let me go back to it. What I had is basically, it's more or less the first part of where I have asking, asking the simple questions, the first part of the intent. Let's see if I can go back. So the welcome part. And then I think this initial part here. And also setting up the environment for the bot to be able to handle all of this. And also some of the message handling. Like sometimes initially if it's not working or there's a system error, for example, you have also setting up the password, so when you're logging in initially, it handles the kind of like the part that I did was the background. How can I say it? It's kind of like the code in the background that before you even get to this, setting up this dialogue, because without the password and the credentials, you can't even start, or you can't even get anything, and you'd be setting up the environment basically. So it sets up the environment, and then the part that I'm saying that with the Node.js, let's see if I can give you an example. This is just an example that's available with Node.js if you're a Node.js programmer, but I did not do the Node.js part. So it's just giving you an example of how, if you were a Node.js programmer, what you would be what the format or the template you could use. But like I said, there's still a lot more to add to developing it, but that's what the Python portion would do. Does anybody else have any questions?
And you guys did that at a hackathon, like in a weekend?
This was the cognitive fair that was at the Galvanize, and they basically came in with Foursquare. Let's see, I still have it up. So Foursquare, basically, what Foursquare and IBM are doing is kind of like they're creating an AI environment and being able to see how developers can create applications with using Foursquare and IBM's Bluemix, and that's what this was about. But to be honest with you, the problem was there was just not enough time. They had a quick tutorial, like an hour class, and then had the hackathon portion of it. So I think that was the challenges that people understanding that and how either of these were working, and how they, because it's a different way of programming and kind of putting things together. So I think you almost have to had been doing this before and then adding on to it. I think that's why it was so difficult and challenging for so many people. But so yeah, that's basically it.
Well, good job. So we'll take a short 5-minute break so I can help Rebecca get set up, and if anyone needs to use the restroom, again, it's out the hall and then a left and right. There's still more sandwiches and wine and beer. Sad, lonely beer that no one wants. Take it. I can't drink it. Yeah, just you can write down your email. I can add you. That's okay.
Thank you.
Obviously you can run.
Sure. I have some lines, so
Oh,
probably
okay.
This works on Windows and Mac, so it's really great. So this is the process. These are my bookmarks that I have put into my starter page. You need to collaborate, which is what all your sites are. So this is my website. And it shows all the files that are
Right.
And then it's really cool that different protocols like every single version. Because
I keep forgetting the name of the password. Let me.
The password you were trying before.
Well, like every
just
time
without that. Yeah.
I thought there was another adjective in there.
I'm working so hard.
But he did it. And
Do you know if it's
my website.
I can show you. I can
Let me see if I can right now.
If you want to write down your company, I can check that. I think, but you're right. It's center gravity.
Exactly. One of them is my server that I run.
Ray just made us like welcome.
I can try the company and have it resend you the invitation. And then if you don't want that, then I can have.
I think it only is 1 year
personal, whichever you want.
Can go.
It's
Did you want to run the code somehow, or were you? I mean, did you want to run it in a?
Well, I want to run it in the browser, and I want to run the code.
You can.
Maybe do 3 slides.
Site, so like this is someone's site that I've just saved to my library. So what I'm actually doing is helping to host it right now. Like I wanted to, I can fork it.
Please do, because I want to see this
We'll
audience.
have to.
And we can sit down together and figure out how to make this work.
Yeah, so it's possible.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, yeah, but you could also,
Oh my gosh.
you could upload it to another server and like make sure it's always on in the background. It's something that's really important and always needs to be available. But also like if you were to, if I were to give you this link, if you were to visit it, your background, you would help post during the time that you're using it.
Remember the name of the channel?
Yeah. So this is what I built, and we're just trying to see if it's possible that peer-to-peer websites are worth more than just for like discovery. So it's actually a really interesting concept that you can publish websites and files from your website.
I'm just gonna leave this back there. But thank you so much.
Nice to meet you, Abby.
Traditional hosting providers.
Not Tara.
So that's our thesis, is that
Yeah, the
it's
thing
not
about Arduino is
necessarily
that I made like
hand over foot to
2
one
things,
on.
and then I realized
Also,
that I really wanted
just
to
to handle drugs.
You don't really even need the Arduino to make a simple thing. Okay, you can just
Data
have a transistor,
and
put
whether or not
right
it's
spot.
allowing you to post your content with it.
The Arduino you can do crazy stuff with, like super large. Right now, your hard drive is
That's a really good question. So we actually also run a service called Hashbase,
Like it doesn't have
which
blue
is
light or
public
anything, so it's at nighttime, it's dark.
It helps you find
What I'm
content
trying to do.
that publish, but
Much
people
bigger
use
than
Hashbase.
But
But
it's
also
so you
for
just attach light to the top.
making
and
sure
then
that your content is like follow line, so you
Or on your phone.
can, these URLs, they're actually secret. So
Rare does that happen?
unless someone knows the URL, they can't download the file. So basically, what you do is you give the URL to Hashbase, and Hashbase can then find the files on the network and start. Keep a copy of that and make sure your stuff is so. Yeah, so it is an address, but it's not DNS. So we've actually built in a mechanism to use
There we go.
DNS.
Alright.
Okay,
So-
There we go.
which is a protocol.
And then you wanted to see it in the browser,
So
index
Code
page?
and, yeah, the index page and the browser, okay, so it's working just the same,
And
right?
so this is just a DNS short name mechanism built in. It's not
So-
ideal because
Think about math, think about it.
in the
Math,
short term.
if you know math, you can
So
do
here,
this.
Find content, but that's of course
was there anything else that you needed?
And our idea is just the code,
Yeah,
the pure code.
sort of
I actually started out as a biology major, and then I quickly learned, oh goodness, I thought it was math.
Extra,
Turns out I
yeah.
was
If
just
someone's
bad
visiting
at calculus
websites,
too.
they're
It's all
helping
back
to
out.
post calculus, your list goes up. And that means like, no, the thing is,
I finally, I took a course here.
How do you spell palace?
P-A-L-L-E-T-A-N.
What's his name?
so we're,
I don't know,
this
the
is
best
data,
class
we're
I've had in my
planning to launch it
entire
next
life.
couple of
We
weeks
just found
probably.
calculus.
And
Ohio State University.
How do you spell palace?
P-A-L-L-E-T-O-N.
The best at like, anyway, so he told me we're really nervous that everything else is supposed to be
We're going to be spending all the time
Guys.
content.
Long story short, I love math.
A day?
It's not like a calculus teacher, everything's calculus after that.
Just, my boyfriend and I, yep, it had just the two of us. Yeah, it's all, it's, yes, it's, the organization using the browser.
So like
we
are.
Our website is just conventional website.
Cool.
Maybe,
So I think I Bootstrap, Palatine, Pixabay, Fiverr, and your Oodles of Yum, and then
Most like visual basis.
So you can still call out to other servers that you're on the back end. So we actually think what's interesting about having people host websites and is that if you have all the files for the front end, then you can make changes. So it's like, it's an imaginary world where you have a lot of your Facebook on here, and there's just something about the UI that you don't like. You mistreat it. And normally you can't do that because Facebook, they, they control. So we think that it's actually going to move a lot of the business that way.
Alright everyone, break is over. Rebecca's ready to go. I think we have 2 talks left.
Yeah.
Rebecca and Cece, you've been talking since November, every month.
Wow.
She made a New Year's resolution to speak every
month this year, although she started in November because she's an overachiever. So she'll be after Rebecca, and then we still have, like I said, food and wine, and the room until 9 if people want to stay and chat and network. So tell us about your
you,
talk.
Holly. Okay, so I am a student at ACC. I'm studying both coding and security and trying to decide for certain which one I want to do. I'm tending towards coding. I first developed a website called Peppermint Love based on my love of food, as you can tell. And this is actually my second cooking blog. I decided I wanted one I could be a little more proud of than the first one, which I made in my first semester over at ACC. And I went to YouTube and went through the blogs, and I found one by this guy called Microwave Sam, and it was on making a bootstrap site. So basically, I've been working on and off for a couple weeks on developing this site. And just a little history of Bootstrap, if anyone isn't familiar with it. It was developed by Mark Otto and Jacob Thornton at Twitter to encourage consistency between internal tools. And it's a front-end responsive website, first released in 2011 and became really widely popular around 2013. And I really like Bootstrap because it's pre-built, it's flexible, you can take the parts you want, and all you have to do is download and then take what you want out of it. And I probably will use this site eventually to make my own portfolio. I thought, well, since a lot of companies use Bootstrap anyway, I could just convert this. And I wanted to show you what I use for my tools. So in Bootstrap, is it up there? No. There it is, okay. I use something called Carousel, and that allows, well, I'll show you in a minute. It allows things to go forward and backward in the website. And I use Paladin for my color schemes. I took a brown color scheme. In fact, I might have used this one for my website because a lot of my pictures had brown in them. And then I use some of my own images, and I also use Pixabay. And I like Pixabay because most of the time you don't have to worry about copyright, but there are a few images in there that are copyrighted, so be careful. I'm learning through some of my lawyer friends, if you use somebody else's picture, you can spend thousands of dollars in a lawsuit. And then I also use Fiverr for my logo. So we'll go back to my site. And that one I made. That's the only one I can claim to have made. The others I definitely will make, but it's going to take a little bit of time before I figure them out. But I've been cooking since I was 10, so I will figure it out.
They look delicious.
And this social media part on the right, that I'm going to change into Font Awesome. It's very 1990 right now, but it does work. So we'll go back to the code again, so you can see what code I have. So, this probably is at least several weeks from being done. I definitely want to put some SEO in the link rel area to tie it so that it gets a high Google rating. And I'm gonna need to add articles and recipes into the site. But I wanted to show you my general framework and then get comments on it, questions on it. So basically, that's where I'm at with it.
Cool. So the track at ACC, what is the track that you're in right now?
Oh, I'm actually in the Associative Science track. I finished the web development track.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And thanks. Yeah, I just finished that about a year ago, and I thought, well, I'll continue on and make my education well-rounded. So, let's go back here. If I were to turn this into a portfolio site, does anyone have any suggestions that they think are good about? How do I scroll on this?
Use 2 fingers on the trackpad. Oh.
I don't have an
I know,
Apple
it's-
yet.
And it's the opposite direction as Microsoft. So it's 2 fingers and you scroll up. It's supposedly more natural.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Once you get used to it.
I wasn't great first.
Do you need me to do anything?
So it's the recipes and articles?
Recipes and articles, yeah, there's nothing in these 2 right now. Oh, it's just like that.
Yeah, 2. And these are all your own creations?
And, well, this one is, and the top one is. And the bottom one.
I think we
I
got
don't
off
have the
of the page.
technique yet.
Well, we got off the page, the mouse had gone up here, so the
Okay.
browser is smart. If you're up here, then it's not gonna scroll, but if you're inside the content, then it will scroll. So Made with Love by Ugo Sabian.
Yeah,
It's nice.
thanks. Any other
Where are you keeping
comments?
your articles?
Pardon?
Your articles?
Oh, that I have not, the recipes, articles, is not done. And I don't think I have done about either. So I still have a ways to go. But, I just wanted to show what I've done and get some feedback on what people think about the general framework.
Yeah, that actually looks better than my actual portfolio site, so.
Thanks.
I would say Bootstrap adds a very nice veneer on any design for a website. To make it a portfolio, you have the home and the about and the content, so maybe you want to add your resume and then a portfolio section where you could link to your code if you put it on GitHub.
Yeah, I have put it on GitHub.
Yeah, so if you put your code on GitHub, then you can link your GitHub account. you could also have snapshot pictures of the projects you've done. So if you've done this Oodles of Yum, if you've done any other websites, you know, the portfolio page could have like pictures, you know, like a gallery of what you've done.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Another
you.
nice touch is that carousel library that you pulled in for the upper image.
Uh-huh.
Carousel. So.
Yeah, the slideshow is nice.
Okay. All right. But so maybe I could put like the screenshots in the carousel.
Yeah, if you wanted to have a portfolio page and it had the carousel, and then it
That's
would
an
have the
idea.
screenshots of some of the projects you've done.
I like that. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all your comments.
Another thing I was gonna say, if you are gonna make a cooking blog, you might wanna try using like Medium, and then you can import Medium into the frame here. So Medium is like a blog website, so you can post your blogs there, so they store all of it. So that way you don't have to make this static HTML for your blogs. If you're gonna write articles, you can write them on Medium, and then you can have the feed from your Medium as an iframe, and you can put that onto your articles page. And so it'll pull all the content from Medium, so you don't have to worry about, you know, coding all of those HTML pages. You know, you can just write your content on Medium. It gives you the nice styling if you want to do bold, underline,
Oh, I like
bullets.
that.
And so you don't have to worry about coding all that HTML. You have an iframe that pulls in your feed.
I hadn't even thought about that. I'll look at
It'll
that.
save you a lot of work.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
Welcome. So last but definitely not least is Cece.
How do I get the presentation?
I think it's in.
Is it?
It's in the right-hand corner. I think it says present.
It doesn't let me click it. It's fine, good enough. So anyway, my name is Cece. As Holly mentioned, I was doing one lightning talk every month. Yeah, so I started last November, so this is how many? 7th? Unfortunately, I'm gonna mix next month because it's July 4th week.
We're not meeting, so you're fine.
Oh yes! I was
Not
so
meeting next
worried.
month, everyone.
I was so worried because it was.
Your streak will stay alive.
Yes, great. So great. Keep my combo. So, today I'm just gonna talk about what I do for work. Honestly, I was really busy last week. I just got back from a business trip yesterday, so I don't have time to prepare for a long one. So I'm just gonna talk about what I do for work because I don't need a lot of time to prepare for that. So I'm a data engineer at Indeed. I started working this January, so I've been there for about 5 months. And this is my first software job. I was not a software engineer. I was actually an electrical engineer, and I went through a bootcamp, and now here I am. And the reason why I want to talk about this is when I first heard about data engineering, I was like, is this a real thing? Or is this something that, you know, my company just made up because my company made a lot of stuff? You know, all company does, like they kind of made out little stuff here and there and then pretend like everybody should know them. You really don't, just ask questions, it's fine. But yeah, but then I realized, good news, it's real. It's a real thing. It is, there's a lot of companies that actually need, have data engineering positions. And the important thing is it is not data science. Data engineers are not data scientists. It's two different things. So what's the difference? So data scientists, they are actually the one that analyze data. So they are the one that sometimes they come up with questions, or sometimes it's the manager come up with questions to ask them. For example, like Indeed, I don't know if you're familiar with Indeed, we are a job site. So if you're looking for a job, you try us. But yeah, for example, like we will say, if we spend this amount of money on advertising our brand, branding, how much more click do we get? How many new users do we get? Things like that. These are questions they ask, and then you can be even deeper, like how much money, if we spend more money on this media, do we get more users compared to the other media? And then we can decide how much budget we should put on where. So these are what data scientists do. And they usually they are very good at statistics, and they also do machine learning, which if they're like really good, it's a new thing here. So they do machine learning, and usually after that they're trying to show people their data. Sometimes it's just numbers, but they also do data visualization, just plot it. They can be really fancy, like 3D, and then have lots of buttons. And so usually that's what they do. So they are usually really good at R or Python. R is, I think it's a language that can run a lot of numbers, statistics and numbers. And then especially Python pandas, which is also one that can process a large amount of data. And usually they know a lot of SQL as well. And data engineer, we do not really analyze the data. I am terrible at statistics. We are the one that actually gathers all the data and then store all the data and then give it to data scientists. So for example, like the previous example I said, how much money we spend and how much more users we got, how many more clicks we got. These are actually data that lives at different places. Like how much money, it's probably, we have to ask the financial people. It's probably in the finance database. How much click, it's actually probably in the log. So a little secret, every time you click in our website, we log it. We log your IP address, we log like which link you search and which link you clicked. So it's probably in some kind of log form. And then how much, what was the other one? How much new user is probably in a user database. So we are the one that actually collect different, copy all these data into a reporting database or just a reporting place, and then tell the data scientists, here's the data, you can do your analysis. So what we do is we create ETL tools, and we create data warehouses, which I'll explain later. And usually what we know, we need, my team use Python, but I know most of the data engineers actually use Java because there's a lot of tools that's written in Java. And I do know they use other programming languages as well, like Scala or C++ or any other language, depends on what your company is. But I think Java and Python is probably the major two. And usually my team all know SQL. I'm not as strong as SQL, but the important thing is it's SQL. But on top of SQL, you need to know database structure, like how to design database schemas to have effective reporting. How do you do like primary key relationships and then things like that. And on top of that, I mean, if you're a more advanced company, they have like various architecture, so they will use distributed systems. Then you will know how to, or if your company actually have streaming data, you use Kafka and stuff like and other technology like that. So what actually happened? Why do we actually need data engineer? So first we have our data source. So data source here, it's where, like, if you have a website, right, and you have your database that connects to your website. So your data lives there. Why don't you just let the data science connect to the website? Because it's bad. Because your customer, like for us, it's the job seeker is using that database, and now you're running a bunch of report on that same database. You may get performance issues. At the same time, there's a lot of times all these data just don't live at the same place. So it's very hard for the data scientists to get all the data and then and find the different places and then import all of them in their R or Python program. So that's why the data engineers, we create a thing called ETL tools. It basically stands for extract, transform, and load. So extract is just getting data from whatever data source you have, and transform is a process of cleaning up data, or make sure the data is whatever form you need. And load is just dump all the clean data into what we call a data warehouse. So data warehouse is basically a term. It's basically a place that you have all your data in. So this kind of means that like a wide range. So like one company will have one data warehouse, but it doesn't really mean not necessary to be a database. It can be a distributed system, but then you will need some like Hadoop kind of distributed system. What do you call it? The tools to when you query them, you need those tools to query the data. Unfortunately, like for my team, we're currently use single database, which will have a lot of scale problems, but it is what it is now. So that's kind of the data warehouse. So that's like one true collection of data, and after that, you can generate report. You can run another ETL job to generate reports, or you can kind of slice and dice it into data marts. So I think the rest is kind of just explain what it is. Data warehouse is kind of central repository information. It can have everything. Like currently, like we put any data there, like finance data, accounting data, as I mentioned, like user click data, user visit. Like we will say, today we have so many user visit our site and stuff like that. So it's like various data. And then data mart usually means it's an access layer, so it will be easier for you to get to the data you're interested in. So it's usually kind of like data warehouse. You see like warehouse is like a big, gigantic factory warehouse kind of like space. And mart is kind of like this storefront, and you can go say, oh, I need financial data. Here's the financial data. I need like user data. Here's all the user data. So it's like a mart. It's kind of smaller storefront. It's easier for you to get the data out. And ETL tools, it's extract, transform, load. So basically extract the data, transform the data, and load the data. And currently there's 3 different types of ETL tools. A snapshot. Snapshot is basically every day, say like every day 12 o'clock, I'll just copy all the data I have on the database, on current database, and then dump into my data warehouse. I mean, you can dump it, or you can just run a diff and then just update the data. That's different. Or a batch. So batch is we just query what data we have, like what extra data we get today, and then just update those. Or is a streaming. Streaming will be it will just be a constant time. It's a stream. So like every time a user updates something, we'll get the stream right away, and then we'll update our data warehouse. So this is kind of the ETL types. That's kind of what I have. There's a lot more on data engineer, and honestly, I'm new. I've only been there for 5 months. But I think today there's more diverse group, but usually it's a lot of people from boot camps and didn't really expose to other parts of software on top of, unless it's web. So I just want to show you there's a lot of things out there. Software is not just web. There's a lot of things. Yeah. So thank you.
That's very cool. So the data mart is, you said that's kind of like an access layer on top of the data warehouse.
Yeah.
Is that like an app that you guys have created, like an interface? So if I'm in the financial department and I need to access finance data, I've seen like access, interfaces. So is it something like that where it's, looks old school,
Yeah.
but you're like, give me this data, and they kind of can search for things. They might have like a query bar or something.
No, so actually like different companies does different thing. So for us, actually the data warehouse is just the central data. And then the data mart is actually another database that may have like, it can be just a view for the data for view in the data warehouse, or it can be some kind of join, because sometimes, so the data warehouse, mostly the way we do it, not every company is slightly different. So the way we do it is we kind of usually just copy the original data into a data warehouse, but a lot of time, like the data you want, like the finance data, you may want finance and user data joined together. So we will create a table, another table in another database that's the kind of like the flat view of that. So one of my previous project I did was quite interesting. So we have performance review every quarter, which is a lot, so they want to do report on that, analyze like who gets what performance, like, and then I think eventually they want to do like the growth of people. So I mean, if you think about the performance, if you think about your SQL table, each quarter is a line, right? And it's actually pretty bad. Like data is like in like 10 table. I did like a 10 table join. It was insane, and it's just like, honestly, I like look at that, it's like their database design was a little bit weird, so you have to join a lot of tables. So after I copy the data to the data warehouse, I have to produce a view that joins all the data. So, and that is the concept of data warehouse, data mart. So, and then all the data that I copy is the data warehouse. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so like, just like as far as your daily work, are you spending more time creating the ETL tools, or are you using the ETL tools that other people have created? Like, where's your focus?
Really depends on what project you're on. Honestly, my time spent on talking to stakeholders to figure out what data they want, and talking to the data owners and say, please give me your data. And that's why I was on business trip, because the data I'm trying to pull is actually not internal data. It's our, we use accounting service. So it's another company provided service. So all our accounting data is in their database. So we're like, can you just give sure, we use your service, but this is our data. We should be able to get our data. So we're trying to just get all the data back, and then kind of having some communication issues. So we have to fly to California and say, give us our data. And then
So will they open like an API for you guys so that you can get your data out of their data storage?
Actually, like we were having some problem with their API because their site wasn't. I think their performance is not good enough. They have a PHP site, so they have some performance issue. So they were thinking they have a data delivery service, and then just dump data in like S3 or something, and then we just get it from S3. But I don't know what they're doing, so that's why we fly there.
So when you say you gather data, you really do go out and gather data.
Like usually we don't. This is definitely an exception.
You're out there hunting for data. Give me my data.
Yeah.
Shaking people down.
Yeah.
That's a nice database you got there.
We're just gonna grab it. Yeah. So I don't know if you know, like Amazon has a service called Snowball. So what they do is they just give you a bunch of hard drive, and you put your data in their hard drive, and then they give it to them, and they'll just put it in their AWS database for you. So it's also an ETL tool, I guess. You extract to your to the hard drive and then load it in their hard drive. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you. Was there anyone I missed? There were some names on here, but I don't think they arrived. Elise Noland, SC, how to guard your online privacy. All right, well then that's it. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Please drink some wine unless you're driving. Where did you put your notebook?
Find that guy. Awesome. I got that halfway through. Oh yeah.
But I was supposed to listen to the
I moved down here, but
I had and I carried my computer around like not doing it like it's a lot like I was gonna go to food liberal, using the so we do like we crawl on the website and it's really cool. It really comes to our side. Awesome. We're pretty. I think I really like it. I love my job. I don't know how they retire jobs. People are doing really some of the jobs because there are different jobs. I was looking for jobs. Really hard work. Oh, thank you. That was my second time doing it. Part of what I want to do. Oh, first time. Yeah. It's smaller, but unless we have some so our theory is we should have the most like
the thing is, if you have 2 hours out typing to get for a job,
but there's some one thing where you can get from I think it's
well, the thing is, regularly,
this is whatever job you want, their website. Yeah, I saw you on the IBM I saw you there, yeah. I just went to the classes because I did not
that's how I
so now I'm like, I really give a thought to art. Why not? Part of my work.
really? You have a steep view of that's why you love kind of this you meant trace of legs.
They're not like I don't think I went to them then. I went to I don't know if it charges chart is essentially the
send it to you before you start.
Like, the means like this direction, and they and so I have to go my ingredient. Showing pearl stitch, and she kept on for me, and then she's like, okay, now here's the chart. I was like, okay, this means this, and I was still figuring out the mechanics while I was there. Yeah, that didn't stick. But then like I started.
Yeah, I think having CC sign up as
Started doing. But talking about the bottom, like the cuts because during the first like the cuts were juggling and there's like teenagers and everyone's like there's just like what's now I know what it means. And like something that like you're 7 or 13 and here eat this thing and titty crafting. And so I just took the cuts book of knitting and darn it, anything else? $20. And instructions, I was like, hey, I'm gonna try this again. It doesn't work, it's about $20, no problem. And
using collaboration, communication. You need to have some kind of action tool where you
for a while I was out of the point where I sat and I'm much better about it now, but yeah, so started knitting, started crocheting, started stitching. Yes. I would say but all of your architect stuff when we were doing it was like it had to make sense. It was like, okay, this means this, and like I could look at it and be like, well, yeah, of course, if you're going to break it down like this because this is this pattern. And I feel like the knitting helped train my brain to just see how things were going to work out. It was very interesting to discuss. Like,
These large, large surfaces.
I'm
Things like that and how you.
yes, knitting is binary for the most part. You have knit stitch and the cross stitch, and then you get like, and that's like if you look at like knitted shirts, you have like the V's versus the bumps.
Right.
So and then everything else.
And I didn't do any
lace.
I never got into this, so I was gonna talk about, it's funny, I actually just found my bag of yarn and needles.
Okay.
Yesterday, and usually I have one fresh project.
That's too bad.
Basic developer account.
I made a
You can run
single
servers.
How long's your scarf?
I gave it away
Your database.
I'm going on
Okay, then you have the muscle memory.
You think so?
Yeah, like basically I tell people
Your virtual machine.
for your first project, knit a scarf. It'll take forever. It'll look hideous. Give it away, and then start and but it's like and it'll be like wobbly and all sorts of you'll drop stitches and all sorts of stuff. But basically getting your hands to know which direction things go. And then like do a bunch of washcloths. Like get some
My mom's not a good tip, but
I'm thinking green. Like peaches and cream, the yarn's like super cheap. Cotton yarn, great for washcloths. Make like
where I have it in my fridge.
5 of those, and then start knitting. Seriously, like it's I 3 months in I started lace, and then because I wasn't sure of myself, I kept counting like every stitch. And so, like, it took me forever. So I put it aside, and made more projects, and I came back, I was like, having made more projects, I came back and realized, oh, I see the pattern now. I can understand, like, I just have to hold it up and say, yeah, that looks right. Yeah, as opposed to, there's 3 of these and then 7 of these.
Yeah, adds good fat,
Yeah, and check out Ravelry.
It makes it
I
taste
heard
good.
that.
Yes.
I will, maybe I should buy,
I've been to
Yes.
I've heard some of the
Yeah,
just
yeah,
started
there's
the-
a-
the-
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
360. That was
Yeah,
so
so
weird.
that's
Yeah,
that's me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
I told you that, the 360 one. And that
but once you've taught
Now you
yourself,
found it.
Yeah, it's
so-
really bad.
I found having attempted it the first time with my aunt, and
Maybe
going back a couple
they
years
put a
later,
little
and
more,
it felt like I was remembering how to do something,
emphasis
and
on the food
and so it clicked much faster.
Yeah.
And then I tried to teach myself how to crochet, and
so
then
you're saying
like
the
they
food
didn't
wasn't
take,
bad,
and
it's
then
bad
once I
because there's a
started
lot.
again, it's like
Unlimited food. I
just percolated in the back of my head more. So
Yeah, you know, I'm right, I have a feeling that it was
So,
like,
my background is more like C-sharp.
So how did you get that job?
Yeah.
Is it through the boot camp?
I'll have to read it.
well, I did boot camp,
After boot camp, you kind of just have to interview yourself.
Yeah.
there's like 17,000 different types of capstones, and they're all useful for different purposes.
That helps.
But like I recommend figuring out the tricks for a long tail cast on, and that will serve you well. It's like way until eventually like, no seriously, I want to learn to click.
Yeah, especially
Seriously,
there's
I need the super stretchy cast on because then it sucks.
there.
Like until you get into specific things, take one cast on. I highly recommend the long tail. It's basically where you have
Oh,
two
okay.
tails and then you just like
It's
leave them together.
definitely.
YouTube it.
But
Cooking and
want to skip those
building
chapters.
the
you
website. I
can
haven't
Yeah.
gotten that far, but I mean, I'm surprised
was
how far
making
I
art
was.
jewelry for
Such a small
for
amount
women
of
designs
effort.
when I started.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to show people the basics.
Like transition
Yeah,
structure.
It's like
It would be cool.
This is-
doing it
this
and
is
just
has
kind
that
of
same
functions.
fulfillingness
I
that
know,
I
I do that.
and
I kind of want to do that, but
I
I
can do
noticed
it
it's
inside
project
most of the
on
craft fairs.
That's why I
So let's do
feel
this.
like in class, it's hard for me to stick to the project. I have a whole bunch of projects I haven't finished.
I help with,
So many parts.
there's
so
a
many
monthly,
projects.
just hang out and hack, that I'm co-event lead for. So, yeah, it's the second Monday of
It
the
would keep me
month.
motivated.
Yeah, that's why I do this every
Or at
month.
least-
Really?
I know that I have to learn something.
Make sure that's going on.
Usually,
I'm
this month really
assistant.
I've got to do this. Usually I talk about
But
something
I
that
just started,
I don't really know, like I maybe know a little, and I talk about it, so I have to talk about it.
It was nice meeting you as well.
It forced me to learn something.
Learning's always good, no matter what you're learning.
What's your name? I see you every time.
Yes, Erica.
So she's like, I need to learn Python
Yeah,
now. I'm gonna go to the Python user.
Yeah, I am.
That's cool. Go for it.
I'm doing
Well, thank you for hosting this, it was really
Yeah, thanks for coming by.
hacking meetup.
We have
the
something
second Monday of
about
the month.
every week. So if you're bored, we have
Second
hack
Monday of the
ones,
month
which
is
are super easy. People just come and bring a project to hack on. Erica is our organizer and host for Hack Night. It's next Monday.
Monday, where is it?
Monday, 6th Street,
Yeah, Odoro.
Ordoro.
And what is Hack Night?
Bring something to work on and.
You can bring your homework.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hang out and talk
Nothing else.
code and, yeah, just have fun.
If people have questions, there's expert
Yeah.
builders.
Yeah, we usually go around and say, you know, what we're working on, and like, there might be somebody who's working on something similar, or like, ooh, can I just look over your shoulder while you're doing that, cause I want to learn more about it, so, yeah.
I remember one time when it was at Retail Me Not, the engineer Retail Me Not, she brought in a dress that she was making, and she had hooked up Arduinos to it. So and a light meter, and also an accelerometer. So if you spun, the lights went faster, and then if you went outside, the lights got brighter. And so it was fun. So everyone was like, "Can we just watch you? Like, what are you making?" Because it was in Node, so it was just JavaScript. But she also liked fashion. She was my neighbor. So she said, "I'm gonna take this to the JavaScript comp, JS comp." And she's gonna do like a lightning talk on, you know, her Arduino dress.
That's amazing.
So that was a fun one.
So many projects, never finished one.
You know, I thought
We were talking
myself
about that.
a
a Raspberry Pi like 2 years ago on Pi Day, you know, the 316. I still have not opened the box. I'm just too busy. I need to sit down, like block out a weekend and be like, this weekend I'm gonna make something.
I have a robot that I haven't opened, just a simple one.
I probably don't, and a Raspberry Pi. Did nothing to both either.
I know I want an Alexa, and I'm like, I probably wouldn't even program that.
You can use it without programming, so.
Yeah, you can, but
What should I program my Raspberry Pi with?
my husband and I, we talk about like making our home like digital, you know, it's an apartment. So there's not a lot we can do because it's an apartment, but we could get like those lights and stuff. And then you can also program Alexa to like respond to different languages, and you know, you can speak Finnish to her and she would like respond. But I'd like to like, you know, program it to do funny things, like so if people are over I can like say something and it like says something stupid. You know, like you can do different logic trees.
Yeah.
So
I know somebody was talking it up and talking about doing the essentially choose your own adventure style.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're now being eaten by the dog. Sort of.
Yeah, when for serverless, the Cloud Guru company, they teach different tutorials on like Alexa and cloud and serverless. They talked about, they did a drunk Santa Alexa, because you can code it and then submit it to the Amazon store, but they'll check it. So first they said no because they didn't like it because it was a Santa, are you naughty or nice? And they said no, this isn't open to like general public. So then they made a drunk Santa and put like a PG-13 rating on it. And then the store was like, okay, they'll put it in the adult section. But it was like, have you been naughty or have you been nice? Because at first he was doing it as a parent, like how to tell if your kid's been naughty or nice, but they're like, no, we're not going to tell parents how to parent. If your child has burned down the house, is that naughty or nice? So.
No.
Yeah.
No, please.
Well, anyone want to take some food home? I'll make you a tray. I can't eat all of it. Or beer or wine. I didn't even make a dent on my huge jug of wine.
I had a bit of.
Well, I kept the stopper. Anybody like white wine? I'm not a big white wine person.
I will take it.
You will take it? Okay, awesome. This is actually from the Cloud Guru. I still have it.
I'm so glad I
It might be half vinegar by now.
No, it was pretty tasty. It's what I had. Unfortunately, red wine gives me headaches.
I'm not a white wine person. I like red wine.
I did used to be a white wine person.
Anybody wants to take wine or beer or anything?
But thank you very much.
Erin, would you mind helping me take stuff?
Not at all. I'm so happy.
I'm gonna put you to work since you're hanging.
Yeah, I can.
And
I wore the shirt even.
Are you good?
I think one person's nice enough. Thank you. Did anyone need any parking validations for downstairs?
Oh, yeah.
On the street.
Yeah. You get a part of
So it's not supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
You-
That's
you
right.
use
I
both of
remember,
those,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
Just like.
I did not take that shot.
You did not see that.
No. No.
That's not going on Twitter.
Yes, ma'am. But it would have been funny. Okay, see you later. Bye.
I think I just like out here anything.
Okay.
So I think it's just this and me, because that's all I need to take in. I'll take that to my work tomorrow and then we'll both me. I was gonna take a couple. Oh yeah, we can make you a tray, whatever you want. I also just want some bread, some lettuce, and some of these.
Oh yeah, take whatever you want. Seriously, I'm gonna take it to work tomorrow. I can't eat bread, so I know. Whatever you want.
Mostly I just wanted to cucumber. Okay, that's not.
So weird they even have anyone at their desk. They're just like, oh, they can handle themselves. Sure, this will work. Wait, yes. You're driving, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're not going on the bus? No.
But that would be fun. This.
I think I could use this. They had it for the ring, but I can use it as a bag.
Excellent. I've seen my son's lunch.
Smart mom. I like simple and easy.
And also, I feel bad. My husband is so picky, and he's also the one who goes and gets the groceries. So, like, I feel bad about not sending vegetables with my son for lunch, but
I'm terrible when I go and buy the groceries because I can't decide on what I want, so I'll get everything. So they can be like, I want cookies. I'm like, okay. Come back with like 7 kinds of cookies. Like, why?
You guys, I got
was like, well, I didn't know what you wanted. Like, they all look so good. get the gluten-free crackers, and I like those.
Yeah.
And so I'll have like 7 kinds. We went on vacation last week to South Padre Island, which we've never been down there, so that was a lot of fun.
I haven't either.
And it took us about 7.5 hours to drive down because we went with the dog, so we stopped like 4 times to let her out, and then I also have to be. I think it's a 5.5 hour drive straight, but I was like, we don't need to buy groceries before we go. We'll buy them down there. There's like an HEB down there.
Yeah.
So I went to the HEB to get snacks and stuff for the week. Cause I'm like, we're in this, Airbnb, like I can cook. So I like bought all this food to cook, and then I didn't feel like cooking the whole week.
Of course not.
And I bought like 8 kinds of crackers and like 7 kinds of chips, and then I didn't eat any of them because we're eating other food, and then for some reason Nick wasn't hungry, which normally he's starving. So I had all this food to bring home with me. So when I carried something, I got it. Oh, this thing works. So yeah, it was funny because I still have like 8 kinds of chips in our pantry now. And I don't eat chips, so I was like, why do you want to eat chips? It's like you love the crackers. I just eat crackers all week.
Ni en el 11 ni en el 12. ¿Dónde la dejaría? ¿La dejaría en el 13 entonces o qué? Porque no la encontré en el 11, ni en la cocina del 12 la encontré tampoco. Falta checar las mesas, ¿verdad?
Sí.